Hi all, welcome back to Beanie Composter. We've all heard of a fire triangle where you need 3 elements to make a fire work. Well, the hot bin is no different. You need 3 elements to make the hot bin work. So you need bulking agent, paper or cardboard, and you need waste. So I thought it would be really good to do a video where we take one of those elements out and just see how the composter handles things. So in this video I'm going to take away bulking agent and see what happens to the hot bin when you remove this element. So both of the hot bins have been working really well, and I've just been following my normal procedures where I add in like the bulking agent, shredded paper and the waste. And you know, the large one is sort of in the middle, nice and hot. The mini I do find to be a little bit more temperamental. It needs feeding quite a lot, I find, and you know, it's been running hot all that time. It's just come down in temperature the last few days. So from now on I'm just going to feed it with the paper and waste, and we're not going to add in any more bulking agent. We'll carry on for that for like a month or so and see what happens with the temperature, whether taking out the bulking agent really does cause a problem with the airflow. With the bulking agent going in there at the moment, you know, it seems to be working, but like I say, if you're not feeding it, it seems to be every other day, it soon goes cold. And we're in, like, you know, summer where the temperature's really hot. But I do find between the larger one and the smaller one, the small one seems to be a little bit more temperamental. So this is where we're at the moment. So I haven't fed this for a couple of days. If I give it a good stir around, there's still plenty of heat in there. I just haven't put any waste in for a few days, and the waste I was putting in there was, you know, quite dry. So I think we're going to add in some kitchen waste today and get the temperature right back up. But this has had like bulking agent. The paper you can see there is still quite dry, so we are very dry in here. It's going to be all kitchen caddy waste for the first time, just to get that temperature back up. There's a few bones in there, that's not going to make too much difference. So plenty of moisture in this one. I'm just going to cut it all up so it's all ready, and then we'll add it in. I'm going to add a couple of handfuls of paper. And then we'll put that in and give it a good stir around. I'm going to add this in because we've already got bulking agent already in the pre-mix. I think, you know, it's going to come up to temperature pretty quickly, and we'll see. Once this is in, I'm going to try to add waste every other day, every couple of days, but with no bulking agent this time. The missus is wondering if it's the hot bin that smells on my arse. Unfortunately, it's my rear end.
Must have gone anaerobic.
Yeah, me. That's what happens when you get old. Now, it's been a few weeks since we've done any filming on this, and during that time Missy's cut the wild meadow and that had dried out in the heat, so I've been using quite a bit of that in there, and we've had it up and down, in the green and just out of the green, which has, you know, been a bit of a struggle with no bulking agent. But a couple of times I have dived in there with the raking stick and give it a good stir up, and that seems to revive it a little bit. Now, I've had a few comments, especially from Paul Lee. I had a good chat with him, and he was saying with his hot bin he was struggling to, you know, get it above 30-40 degrees for a while. And at that time we were chatting, I was sort of struggling for a week or so with mine. It had been in the, you know, up in the 60s, and then it dropped down to 40 and then struggling. But I also jumped into the big one with the big raking stick and gave it a good old stir up, and we cut the hedge at the weekend and I put a load of that in, which substitute a little bit like bulking agent, and that seems to have revived this, and it's back up to, you know, hot composting temperatures again. But have a look at what's going on in the Mini at the moment. So I've just given that a feed this morning and we're already still in the green, which is, you know, good news. We've just been, you know, just over the green. So like I say, when I put a feed in there, it always drops the temperature a little bit, but I'm sure that will come back up. And as I've said, we're putting no bulking agent in there, but some of the meadow mix is quite dry, so you could almost say that's substituting a little bit for bulking agent, and we've had a few sort of twigs and that in there, but not that many at all. So that's where we're at with this one at the moment. Mrs. is on holiday for 3 weeks, so I just keep feeding it as we normally are, and when she's back we're filming and finish to this one. Just to see the difference when you are adding bulking agent in with your mix, this is what sort of temperatures you should be hitting. It's been a good couple of months since we started this no bulking agent in the hot bin experiment, and like I said at the beginning of the video, we did have a bit of bulking agent in the very bottom part, but since then I've been literally adding just, you know, kitchen waste, a bit of garden waste and paper. And for the last probably month I've been struggling, although I can get it into the green with like a, you know, a high digestible feed, it won't go much above 40 degrees even with the heat we've had. So I'm kind of thinking, Mrs. B came back from holidays and the shed's starting to rapidly fill up with waste now. So I'm thinking, have a look what's going on inside now, and if I start adding bulking agent into it, mix that all in and add new waste, is that going to raise the temperature up? So we'll try that out, but first of all have a look what's going on inside at the moment. While we're here, I've spotted like a new place where slugs tend to go and hide if you put slugs in here alive. They seem to creep up and hide in these crevices in here, so if you've got the hot bin, just beware of that. I've got a worm there that's coming up that can go into the old compost, but I'll show you what's going on inside here. We are quite, not wet, but you know, I've actually managed to cut the grass. I put a bit of grass in there the other day, and if I give it a good stir up, you can see and feel there's heat there. But we are sort of getting to the point where there just isn't enough airflow getting in there through the lack of bulking agent. So like I say, I'm going to put some bulking agent in this now and try and mix that all through, and then I'm going to give it a fresh feed and see if we come up to, you know, a bit more hot composting temperatures and just into the, you know, 40 degrees green, whereas at the moment we should be proper roasting in here. So in this bucket I've got some of the hedge trimmings which I'm using at the moment in the main one as bulking agent, and I've also got, I'm not going to hold it too tightly because this has got like thorns on it that you would just pierce your whole skin. So yeah, this is like a hedge that we cut down as well that I'm also cutting up and using as bulking agent, and I'm going to add in a couple of handfuls of traditional bulking agent, the one that I get from where Little plays tennis from, just to give it that, you know, head start. Remember, we've been like composting this for probably a couple of months and with no bulking agent, so it's definitely going to need some in there. But I'm going to give it a good stir around, put this in, and then I'm going to give it another feed and we'll see what happens. As I say, Mrs. B's cut loads of garden waste now, and now we're all back, we're getting more waste in the kitchen, so kind of want to get this one going again. And I've got an experiment which I think most of you might find interesting, and I'll explain a little bit while I'm doing this, because I do tend to find you have to give the hot bin a good stir up now and again. So I want to kind of do an experiment where I'm not doing any stirring in the bin and I'm just putting the waste in, just to see if that sort of works. So don't forget, if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss these sort of experiments and, you know, the general videos that we're doing. I'm trying to go as low as I can. With the Mini, it's not too bad. Always find going right down the sides kind of helps. Might have to just get myself a cement mixer that they use in the actual, you know, the workmen, and just mix all my waste up in that and then just add it into the composter, because I'm getting too old for all this stirring now. I've got a couple of handfuls of like the wood chippings here as well, which I'm going to add into the top layer and just mix that in as well. So I'm just trying to get it all mixed, you know, through all the layers, because obviously the reason for the bulking agent is to give you airflow, and if it's only just in the top, it isn't really going to help too much. Like, it may look a bit wet to some people, but actually it's not really. I'd say the actual compost itself is in pretty good sort of condition, not too wet and not too dry. I'm just going to try and just right down the bottom here without damaging my hand. Okay, so that's a good old mix in there, and I'm going to add to that a little bit of fresh waste today, which will be just, you know, some more of this branches for wood, for sort of bulking agent, some paper, and then we've got a little bit of garden waste and a little bit of kitchen caddy waste as well. So I've got just a normal feed that I would do for either of the hot bins in a normal sort of without an experiment. So just got the paper, I've got a bit of kitchen stuff. I actually managed to cut the grass and raked it, so scarified it a bit, so I've got a little bit of stuff from there, and also got some bulking agent, which is like the branches that I showed you earlier on that went into the hot bin. So I'm going to add this in, give it a little mix up. We'll put the thermometer back in, give it a couple of days and see if that's made any difference, as in it coming up to temperature. You can tell the boss has been off school for 6-7 weeks because I've had to go back to the spaghetti paper. So hopefully when she's back at school I can get the cross-shredded stuff, which I find actually a little bit easier to mix in. But I'm sure we'll be fine with this stuff. So a little bit of a mix-up, that'll be fine. Thermometer in and we'll see what happens. Less than a day of me putting the bulking agent in there, I checked the hot bin and it had already gone into the green and looked like it was going to start to do really well. And 2 days after me putting it in, have a look where we're at now. I need to give it another feed today, but you know, we're only going up from here, I think. So just goes to show that putting bulking agent in your hot bin is quite essential to keep the hot bin, you know, at a hot temperature. So before we finish this video off, obviously, I guess you would like to see what comes out of it, but I'm not going to empty it right now. I kind of think that the compost is going to be okay that comes out of it. But I did want to finally see if any leachate has built up and if we're going to get any come out of this. So let's have a check before we finish. There's still no leachate coming out. Still no leachate coming out, but we'll do a summary on the bench and I'll just go through a few points that I think might interest you, or if not, wait until the next video. So what has this experiment shown us? It's clear to see that even without bulking agent, you can still keep your hot bin at a reasonable temperature, at borderline sort of 40 degrees, but it does take a little bit of determination. And you know, every time I put a feed in, I've had to give it a real good stir up just to get some oxygen into the hot bin and for that to maintain some sort of temperature. I think, you know, I keep the temperature around 40 degrees with that, but if I was to leave it for a couple of days and it doesn't get stirred, and also as this experiment has gone on, it's become harder and harder to keep the temperature up. But it does go to show you, if you are running low or you can't produce that much bulking agent within your garden, or you can't get hold of any, that you can still maintain the hot bin temperature to a reasonable temperature where like the compost is producing good quality compost from your hot bin. But as you've seen, when I added that bulking agent, we've made a huge difference in temperature. So I'd say, you know, within a couple of days, it's gone up at least 10 degrees. And, you know, if I feed it today, I'm sure that's going to go up to probably near and up 60 degrees after another day or two. So it is quite essential to put bulking agent into your hot bin if you want to maintain hot, you know, composting temperatures. And you know, I ran this experiment for a good 2 to 3 months, and we had like one of the driest spells, which didn't really help. Although I was sort of giving most of the, you know, easily digestible food that I had to the mini to keep the, you know, experiment going. And like the inside of the hot bin, although it wasn't wet, it wasn't mega dry. So you know, for me, it seems a bit strange overall that in 3 months that we've not really produced any leachate out of the hot bin mini. So now we've got it up to, you know, a good temperature. It'd just be sort of good to see what happens with the leachate, whether we start producing more now. I've noticed when I open it up in the colder mornings now that you can see the steam. So maybe that's going to contribute to us getting a little bit more leachate now. So that'd be a good thing to keep an eye on. But I think whether you've got bulking agent or not, there's no harm in, you know, not putting as much in as you need to if you don't have it. It's not going to affect things if, say, for like a couple of weeks you can't get any bulking agent or you run out. So don't panic, and you can just add a little bit more in the next, you know, the next time you've got some. All there's left for me to say is I hope this video has helped some people out. I know we're getting a few new subscribers, so if you haven't already subscribed, subscribe. It does help us out, and leave comments, because it doesn't just help me out, but I think a lot of people on the channel like to read what's going on with everyone else. And like I keep saying, we've become a little bit of a community where you know, the names pop up, and it's quite nice to see how people are getting on with their hot bins and what sort of things they're doing. And I know a few new people have got hot bins and they've just sort of received them. So it's great that this channel is probably inspiring people to get a hot bin. And in, you know, these sort of times where it's like money saving is quite important, I think it's a good thing to have in your garden if you do like gardening. So until next time, happy composting and enjoy.